How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud today. We're studying Daf Gimel, Daf 3 of Masechta Nazir, friends. Okay, we're going to continue Daf 3 talking about these different kinuyim and stuff by Nazir. And we're going to wrap up basically the first Mishnah on today's Daf. So let us go weiter. Okay, let's go weiter. So, we're on Daf Gimel Mud Aleph, about 5-6 lines into the page. Hareini koze. So if a fellow says, I am like this, so he's a Nazir. Nihi nami de tafuz b'sairo. Hareini koze lo omar. So, wait, what? Did I skip this morning when I was reviewing? Excuse me, 1 second. Okay, so Nihi nami de tafuz b'sairo. So even though he's chapping his hair, so Hareini koze lo omar. I mean, he's not, when he says Hareini koze, he's not saying I'm going to be a Nazir. So how do you know he's talking about being a Nazir? So Shmuel could go and show you a Nazir over the front of him. So says Shmuel, it's talking about where there was a Nazirite passing before him, and he says he's going to be like this. So he's saying he's going to be like a Nazir. He's going to be a Nazir. Hareini misalsel. I'm like playing around. Mimayda hadein silsul sayre. How does it mean it knows that he's playing around with his hair, that he's going to be a Nazir? Like the maidservant who worked at the house of Rebbe said to a certain fellow, why are you playing with your hair so much? So we see that misalsel is related to hair, so it means being a Nazir. Maybe we'll say it's referring to the Holy Torah. Tichsiv, as the Pasuk says, I don't know, play with it and it will make you great. Omar Shmuel Ochonami Shetafus Besairo. So here also it's talking about where he's playing with his hair and he says he's misalsel, so it means he's going to be a Nazir. Harin Mechalkal. Mimayda Aden Kilkul Sairu. I don't know that if he says Mechalkal, it means that it has to do with hair. Kedetnan, as we learned in the Mishnah Sid, that if you go out with Sid, with like lime on Shabbos, Rabbi Omer Kedei Losud Kilkul. So Rabbi says we're taught that you'll be chai for carrying on Shabbos if you take out enough lime in order to lime up a kilkul. Rav Bas Tzida, and Rav says, what's a kilkul? It's the hair on your temple. So it's talking about removing hair on your temple. So we see that mechalkul is related to your kilkul is related to hair. Ema mezon aniye. Maybe it means that he's gonna give food to poor people. That seems admirable. The pasuk says veichalkul Yosef es aviv. That Yosef supported and sustained his father and his brothers. Here also he's playing with his hair, and he says he's talking about hair related in Yonim. So it's like so he's basically saying he's going to be a Nazir. Says the Mishnah, if a fellow says he's going to be shaleach pera, so he's going to be a Nazir. It means he's going to be a Nazir. How do we know that shaleach pera means that he's going to grow out his hair and be a Nazirite? The pasuk says that your long hair is like a apple, a pomegranate orchard. Okay, that sounds very nice. Maybe though, shaleach means to get rid of. The pasuk says that he gets rid of water from the heavens and he puts it down on the earth. Tana pera yolif. Well, we make a gzeira shavet by pera. Okay, it says by Nazir that kadoshia gadol pera. Uchsiv awesome. It says by kohen gadol gabi kohen hedget. By kohen hedget to fera lo yishalechu. That they shouldn't have too long hair. And therefore it's talking about hair. Alternatively, Hai Sholech Mayim Nami Riboyu Dichad Mashkin Le Maya Lefera Viravi. Sholeach Mayim, when it says that he sends water, it's also adding because it says basically he's going to send water and it's going to grow the fruits. So that's also increasing. So therefore, Sholeach Pera means he's going to increase the length of his hair. If a fellow says that it is incumbent upon me birds, so then he's saying he's a Nazir. My time with Reb Meir. How come Reb Meir says that if he's talking about birds, it means he's a Nazir? Because when he says that he's accepting upon himself birds, what he's saying is the birds that are juxtaposed to hair in the verse in the book of Daniel, that's what he's accepting upon himself. Basically, he's going to be a Nazir. The pasuk says, "Ad disaire kinishrin riva," that his hair is big like eagles. V'tifroi kitziporin, and his fingernail and his nails are going to be like birds. So so we compare tziporin, birds, to sirate, to his hair. So he's basically, if he's talking about birds, he's saying he's going to be a nazir. Rav Meir saw Ramat Pesinish b'midi de samachlis. So Rav Meir holds that the person, when he talks about stuff, he's always making juxtapositions to different verses in the Bible. And therefore, if he's talking about birds, Memele, he's talking about the birds that are juxtaposed to the hair in the book of Daniel, and he's saying he's going to be a nazir. The rabbis say, look, the mice, at the end of the day, when people are talking about birds, they may not be thinking about the juxtaposition to hair in the verse in the book of Daniel. If he's talking about birds, he might just be talking about birds. Rabbi Yochanan Omar, whereas Rabbi Yochanan says no. The machlokes, right? The chulei alma lo matbis. Everyone agrees that that you're not thinking about juxtapositions in verses when you're talking. Elahainu ta'ima de Meir. Rather, this is the reason for Meir. This is why Meir is saying that we talked about birds, he's going to be a nazir. T'chayshinon shematzipori nazir tamei kibel olav. Maybe when he mentions birds, what he's saying is that he's accepting upon himself the predicament through which, if he were tameh, he would have to bring bird sacrifices. I.e., if a nazir becomes tameh, he has to bring a chata sa'of and an ola sa'of. So basically, he was saying he's going to be a nazir. He's going to put himself in a situation that if he becomes tameh, then he's going to have to bring. I don't even know what I just said, but he's saying he's going to be a nazir, and then if he becomes tameh, he's going to have to bring birds. But still, what we're saying, maybe he's talking about he's going to be a nazir. Maybe he's talking about bringing just birds as a donation to the Beis Hamikdash. Maybe that's what he's talking about when he mentions birds. But then he should say that he's accepting upon himself a cane, like a nest of birds to bring. That would be how we would say that he's going to bring birds as a voluntary offering. From the fact that he says tziporim, it's talking about the tziporim of the nazir. Maybe what he's saying is that he's accepting upon himself to pay for the birds of a mitzorah. Right? A mitzorah, a person who has tsaras, when he becomes tahor, he has to bring birds. Maybe what he's saying is he's accepting upon himself, he's taking upon himself to donate, to sponsor the birds for a mitzorah when he becomes pure. Over the fun of. Well, it's talking about where a Nazirite was walking before him when he mentioned this thing about birds. But still, maybe this Nazir who's passing by is an impure Nazir. And what the guy is saying, he's not saying I'm going to be a Nazir. He's saying that this Nazir over here is impure. When he becomes pure, he's going to have to offer bird offerings. I will sponsor those bird offerings. Maybe that's what he's saying. Over the fun of. Well, it's talking about where there was a pure Nazirite walking in front of him, and he says that he's going to bring birds. What he's saying, he's going to be a Nazir, i.e., he's going to be a Nazir who would theoretically have to bring birds if he would become Tameh, but he's saying he's going to be a Nazir. My Benai, what's the nafkamina between Rish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan? Ike Benai could go into Omar. For example, if he says, Tziporin smuchen l'seyar olai, if he says, I'm accepting upon myself birds that are juxtaposed to hair in the verse in Daniel. Kigon, where am I? Fine. The Rabbi Yochanan, according to Rabbi Yochanan, even though he says this, right, Rabbi Yochanan says, look, we don't assume that people are juxtaposing things to verses in the Bible, and therefore, even if he says like this, Nazir over the fun of in ilolo. Look, it's irrelevant. What's important is if there is a Nazirite walking before him. If there's a Nazirite walking before him, and he talks about the birds, so then he's a Nazir. If there's no Nazirite there, then he's not a Nazir. L'bshim ben Lakish afagav de a Nazir over the fun of. Whereas according to Rish Lakish, look, if he mentions that he's, he says Tziporin smuchen l'seyar olai, that he's juxtaposing the birds to hair, like in the book of Daniel. So Memele, so Rish Lakish says he would be a Nazir. Mi'ika l'manda Amar lo mat bis inish b'milsa de samachle. 1 second. Is that really a thing? Does anybody really hold that people don't juxtapose verses? Ve'atanya, we learn in the Brisa, Omer Yamin, Harezo Shvuah, that if a fellow says Yamin, which means right, the right versus left. If a fellow says Yamin, he says right, so that's a vow. That's an oath. My time, how come Yamin is an oath? Lav Mishum, Dichsiv is not because the Pasuk says, V'yarim Yemino, Usmola Lashamayim Vayishava, that he lifted up his right hand and his left hand heavenwards, and he swore. So B'chaya Olam, to the life of the world, to God. So we see that Yemino is juxtaposed to Vayishava, to making an oath. So doesn't everybody agree that we compare words and verses? Amrei lo mishum de yamin. Amrei lo, they say no. Mishum de yamin gufrei ikre shvua. It's not because yamin is juxtaposed to shvua. It's because yamin punkt means shvua. The Tanya is within the Brisa, and I know yamin shvua. I don't know that if I say yamin right, it means oath. The Tanya is within the Brisa. I know omer yamin shi. What did I just read that? Yamin shi shvua. Shenamar, as the pasuk says, nishba Hashem bimino, that the Eibishter swears bimino with his right. So we see that punkt swear is yamin. U'minan the omer small shi shvua shneimar uvizra uzo. How do you know that left is oichet to shvua, because it says uvizra uzo, and in the arm of his might. Well, that was Daf Gimel of Masechta Nazir, and we learned about different things that he says that would make him a Nazir. Then we got to the Machlokes between Reb Meir and the Rabbanon about if he talks about birds, does that make him a Nazir? The Reb Meir says yes, the Rabbanon say no. Rish Lakish explains the Machlokes that, when he says birds, he's really comparing it to a verse in the book of Daniel. Whereas the Chacham said, no, he's not comparing it to a verse in the book of Daniel. And Rabbi Yochanan says, no, it has nothing to do with comparing verses to a book, to a verse in the, words to a verse in Daniel. It has to do with, what did Rabbi Yochanan say again? Wow. Didn't we just do this a second ago? Oh yeah, right. What he's saying is that he's going to bring the birds that he would offer, that a Tameh Nazir offers. Well, that was the Gimel Masechta Nazir. I hope you enjoyed. Peace out.